Attention passionate Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the AFC North and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Pittsburgh Steelers' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Pittsburgh Steelers fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your friends and Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Let's get to the news. Alright, folks, I know you're all eager to hear the latest about our beloved Steelers, and I promise there's some intriguing developments that could shape the team's future, especially when it comes to the backfield. But first, let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture of what's happening in the AFC North, because it's not just about what Pittsburgh is doing, but about how the division as a whole is evolving. The AFC North, historically known for its physicality and tough defenses, has always been a battleground. But recently, there's been a shift in power, a shakeup that might just redefine who's on top in the upcoming seasons. And Pittsburgh, as always, is right in the middle of it, trying to position themselves for another deep playoff run, maybe even a Super Bowl appearance. Now, diving into the specifics, the big story that's been making waves recently revolves around the Steelers' running back room, a position that's always been critical to the team's identity. But this year, the roster construction is shaping up differently than many expected. The buzz is that the Steelers might be leaning toward a very stable, perhaps even overstocked, backfield. And one name that's been floating around in the NFL circles, quite unexpectedly, is veteran Patterson. Yes, you heard that right, Patterson, a player who's been known for his explosive versatility, especially as a return man, but also as a hybrid weapon on offense. Patterson, who made first-team All-Pro 4 times over his career, is a player that's always been intriguing because of his ability to line up as a wide receiver, running back, and return specialist. He's a true Swiss Army knife on the field. But here's the thing, according to reports from The Athletic's Mike DeFabo, the Steelers might be considering parting ways with Patterson during the preseason. That's a pretty significant development, especially considering how much he's contributed in the past. DeFabo pointed out that Patterson, who was once one of the NFL's elite return men, might find himself on the outside looking in when final roster cuts come around. And that's pretty surprising, especially considering the Steelers signed him just last year to a 2-year, $6 million deal, hoping he could ignite their return game and add some offensive versatility. But the reality is, the Steelers' backfield is now crowded, and full of young, talented guys eager to prove themselves. You've got rookies like Caleb Johnson, drafted out of Iowa in the 3rd round of the 2025 NFL Draft, who's got a lot of potential. Then there's Kenneth Gainwell, the offseason signing from the Eagles, who's proven to be a reliable pass catcher and versatile back. And don't forget Jaylen Warren, who's been a fan favorite and showed flashes of brilliance last season. The team also placed a tender on Warren, which essentially means they want to keep him around, especially after his impressive performances when Najee Harris was injured. Now, with all these options, the question becomes, where does Patterson fit? Does he remain a part of the puzzle, or will he be shown the door? Pause here just for a second. If you want the YouTube algorithm to keep recommending the latest Pittsburgh Steelers news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now let us continue with the big reveal. Now I know what some of you might be thinking, Patterson's experience, his explosiveness, his ability to change games with a single play, why would the Steelers even consider letting him go? Well, that's the thing about roster management. It's all about fit, production, and future plans. Patterson, despite his reputation, didn't have his best season in 2024. In fact, his numbers were quite modest. Over 13 games, he rushed for only 135 yards on 2 yards per carry, which is okay but hardly eye-popping. His receiving yards amounted to 80 yards on 12 catches, not exactly the numbers that scream must keep. And his special teams contribution, which was a big selling point last year, was also down, averaging just 21.8 yards per return, well below his previous seasons, and contributing to the Steelers finishing last in the league in kickoff return yards. This isn't just about numbers, though. It's about the team's direction. The Steelers have invested heavily in their running game this offseason, especially after losing Najee Harris to free agency. They drafted Caleb Johnson out of Iowa, a versatile, powerful back who's projected to be a cornerstone for the future. They also signed veteran Kenneth Gainwell, a player with pass-catching ability and experience, and placed a tender on Jaylen Warren, who showed a lot of promise last year. On top of that, they signed Trey Sermon, a former third-round pick from the 2021 draft, who could push Patterson for snaps during training camp. The competition is fierce, and it's clear that the Steelers want a running back room that's deep, young, and versatile. But here's where things get interesting. The team also added veteran tight end Jonnu Smith recently, and the roster could be leaning more towards extra tight ends rather than specialists in the return game. If Patterson isn't going to be a significant contributor on special teams, especially with the depth they've accumulated, it's hard to see how he fits into the roster. The Steelers have too many options at running back and tight end, and they're known for their strategic roster decisions, always aiming for flexibility and special teams impact. So, the possibility that Patterson might be a cut candidate isn't just speculation. It's rooted in the team's current composition and future plans. Now, let's talk about what this means for the Steelers and their overall strategy moving forward. For years, the Steelers have built their identity around a tough, relentless defense paired with a balanced offense that relies on a strong running game. Even with the changes in personnel, the team's core philosophy remains. They want players who can do a little bit of everything, who can contribute on special teams, and who fit into their disciplined, physical style of play. The running back position in particular has been central to their identity. Think of players like Jerome Bettis, Le'Veon Bell, and Najee Harris. Those guys could carry the load, catch passes, and be reliable in clutch moments. In recent seasons, Pittsburgh has been searching for that next star, that player who can embody that grit and explosiveness. Harris has been solid, but the team has been looking for that additional spark, especially in the passing game and in the return game. Patterson was seen as a potential answer because of his experience and versatility, but his production last year fell short of expectations. The team's coaching staff, led by offensive coordinator Matt Canada and head coach Mike Tomlin, is known for their strategic approach, sometimes conservative, but always calculated. They're not just going to keep a player around because of past reputation. They want guys who can contribute now, who fit into their game plan, and can provide value on special teams, offense, or both. Looking ahead, this roster decision about Patterson could be a microcosm of the Steelers' broader strategy. They're emphasizing youth, speed, and versatility, all while maintaining that physical, disciplined identity. The challenge for players like Patterson is to adapt, to prove that they still have what it takes to contribute at a high level. For fans, it's a reminder that roster cuts are never easy, especially for a player with such an impressive resume as Patterson's. But it also underscores how competitive the NFL has become. Teams are always looking for that edge, that extra player who can tip the scales in crucial moments. And let's not forget, this isn't just about who's on the roster today, it's about the future. The Steelers have been building their foundation with young talent and smart offseason moves. Drafting Caleb Johnson, signing Gainwell, and adding young players like Warren and Sermon shows they're planning for sustained success. They want a running back room that's not just about one star but about a collective effort. Patterson, with his veteran savvy and diverse skill set, could have been a key piece, but if the numbers and team direction point elsewhere, then that's just how the NFL works. So what should Steelers fans be watching for now? Well, training camp will be the ultimate testing ground. We'll see who shines, who struggles, and who earns their spot on the 53-man roster. Patterson's future might hang in the balance, but his story isn't over yet. Maybe he'll show something in camp that convinces the coaching staff to keep him around, or maybe the team will decide that their current crop of backs is enough to meet their goals. Either way, it's a fascinating storyline that highlights the ever-evolving nature of roster management in the league. And guys, I want to emphasize how important this is for the Steelers' identity moving forward. The team has been driven by that relentless, blue-collar mentality that's made Pittsburgh famous. They want players who embody that grit, and while experience is valuable, it's often young talent that brings the energy needed to push through a tough season. Patterson's case is a perfect example of that balancing act, veteran experience versus youthful potential. And it's not just about one player. It's about the philosophy the organization is reinforcing as they aim for another Super Bowl run. Finally, let's zoom out a bit and look at the bigger picture again. The AFC North is shaping up to be more competitive than ever. The Cincinnati Bengals, Baltimore Ravens, and Cleveland Browns are all loading up with talent, trying to dethrone the Steelers' long-standing dominance. Pittsburgh has always been a team that prides itself on smart, disciplined football, but to stay at the top, they need to adapt, to refine their roster, and to make those tough decisions that sometimes upset fans but are necessary for sustained success. So, whether Patterson stays or goes, it's a reminder that the Steelers are in a constant state of evolution. They're trying to strike that perfect balance between experience and youth, between talent and team chemistry. And as fans, we should be excited, because the competition in training camp and the preseason is going to be fierce. Every snap, every play, every decision counts. The team's future is always in motion, but one thing is for sure, Pittsburgh is committed to winning, and they're going to do whatever it takes to get back to that Super Bowl stage. And now, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Patterson can still be a key contributor, or do you agree that the team is moving in a different direction? I love hearing your opinions, and your voice matters so much to us and to the Steelers. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Pittsburgh Steelers news. Keep that passion alive, and let's keep supporting our team through thick and thin. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Steelers.